So recently I saw a YouTube video called The Lost Episode of Drake and Josh by a YouTuber named I Was in a Box. In the video, he talks about the long since forgotten original Drake and Josh pilot. I'll leave a link to that video down in the description so you can check it out. I definitely recommend that you do. It's a fantastic video that brought back a ton of memories for me. When I was in middle school, Drake and Josh was one of my all-time favorite shows. They were two of my favorite characters from The Amanda Show, and them getting their own show together just made perfect sense in my eyes. It was another reused Nickelodeon formula where two brothers with opposite personalities are forced to coexist, just like the Angry Beavers or CatDog, for example. But much like Angry Beavers and CatDog, Drake and Josh did a fantastic job of putting its own spin on that formula and adding just a little bit of pizzazz to make the show uniquely its own. Now, on the back end, Drake and Josh is shrouded in controversy. The show's creator, Dan Schneider, is a total creep and has been let go from Nickelodeon for doing some more than questionable things that resulted in some serious allegations. The more recent controversy surrounding the show revolves around Drake Bell being arrested and charged with attempted endangering children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles, charges which he just recently pled guilty to. He's definitely gone downhill, and looking back, we should have known something was up when he didn't get invited to Josh's wedding. But before he was endangering children and doing illegal acts, he was a teenager on this show that a lot of us enjoyed when we ourselves were teenagers. That's why today on our nostalgic walk down memory lane, we're gonna try and set the controversy aside for just a moment and take a look at the good old days and look at an episode of Drake and Josh that really embodies everything we love about this show. Sure, Drake Bell and Dan Schneider both suck eggs, or in Dan's case, toes. We could sit here and trash on them for the next 10 or so minutes, or we could indulge in some good old early 2000s nostalgia. So many people are doing the former recently, so I'm gonna go ahead and opt for the latter. In my opinion, the episode that truly emphasizes everything great about this show is Season 2, Episode 1, The Bet. There's a lot to love about this show, but right off the bat, one of my favorite parts is how every episode begins with both Drake and Josh speaking candidly, usually about one another.
I gotta say, I'm really glad Drake's my new stepbrother. I'm really glad someone invented pizza.
This episode begins with them reflecting on all the recent bets that they've made with one another and how competitive each of them are, with Drake happily pointing out that he's cheated on bets before. We then move on to see Drake in the kitchen pouring a bowl of cereal with cola instead of milk, complemented by an entire bowl of sugar and a powdered donut. Meanwhile, Josh is in the living room playing some video games.
Yeah, you ain't no competition for Joshy. Switch it ahead, hell!
Their mom walks in, running late, and asks them to drop an umbrella off to Megan at her friend Eddie's house since it's about to pour down rain and she doesn't want Megan to get drenched on the way home. Both Drake and Josh pay her little to no attention, simply responding with,
Here's the umbrella. Thanks, guys.
Later, Megan comes home completely soaked while Josh is still playing video games and Drake is eating up some chips and chocolate syrup.
Hello!
Oh yeah, this is for you.
Their mom comes home and sees Megan soaking wet and she is absolutely pissed off at them. She scolds them for being so preoccupied with their games and junk food and she grounds them for the night. Megan then shakes her wet hair all over them in a gag that is more funny in thought than in reality. I just gotta stop for a sec and throw this out there. Drake and Josh had the coolest room right behind Arnold's room in Hey Arnold. Drake and Josh are having an argument while pointing fingers at each other for their addictions to video games and junk food.
Ooh, look at me, I'm Josh. I play video games all day long. Girls, no thank you, ma'am. I've got me a video game. Ooh, I'm Drake. Nutrition? Not for me. I'm just gonna eat me a big old bag of cheese balls.
Which you're allergic to.
Drake argues that food is a necessity and video games are just a waste of time, but Josh defends his point with his cat-like reflexes.
Which is why I now have cat-like reflexes. Yeah, dead cat-like reflexes.
They end up making a bet that they'll both swear off of video games and junk food, and whoever caves first has to dye their hair pink. Megan even makes the bet official with a contract. Later on, we see Josh really just struggling without video games. He starts with a puzzle, which he has just absolutely no patience for.
Stupid Sky. You don't want to fit? Fine. Bring! It's for you! There! Who fits now?
Meanwhile, Drake ends up caressing some cupcakes and cheese balls in a very seductive manner, clearly also struggling with the bet. The next morning, they wake up for school and Drake has broken out in a seriously gnarly rash. I gotta say, they did a really good job of making it look like he's having a serious allergic reaction. The doctor that lives across the street comes by and tells Drake that the rash is due to his change in his diet, and he recommends eating some junk food as soon as possible. Josh is immediately stoked that he's gonna win the bet, since Drake has to eat junk food, but at that exact moment, Megan comes in with a package for Josh. Turns out, his grandma sent him the yet-to-be-released game Sphere.
And it's spherical! Spherical!
Regardless of the recent turn of events, both of them refuse to cave, and Megan is just enjoying every single second of their misery. After seeing their sons struggling with the bet, their parents start their own bet, with Josh's dad saying Drake will win, and Drake's mom saying Josh will win. They have Megan draw up a contract complete with the same punishment as Drake and Josh. Just when Josh is about to cave, Megan catches him and calms him down.
Would you calm down?
I can't calm down, I just can't handle it anymore. Do it again! Thank you.
She tells him that he needs to sabotage Drake if he wants to win. Of course, she does the same exact thing to Drake too. Later that night, Drake comes to their room to find Josh basically reenacting Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It's all candy and junk food. Yeah, I suppose it is.
Josh completely covered their room in every different candy you could possibly imagine, complete with a pool in the middle filled with chocolate milk. He even put in edible chocolate cups too. Josh rubs all the junk food right in Drake's face, and Drake returns the favor by rubbing the game Sphere in Josh's face.
You got the wireless battle pad!
Yep, look at me walking and playing. I'm playing the game Sphere.
This part drove me absolutely nuts as a kid because Drake originally plays the game Sphere with a wired Xbox controller, then he switches to a wireless Nintendo 64 controller, which by the way is not an actual thing. They go back and forth with Drake bragging about how cool the game is and Josh shoveling gummy bears into his mouth and spilling more onto the floor than actually in his mouth in the process. They both end up caving at the same time, but if you look extra close, you'll see that Drake gets some of the junk food into his mouth before Josh even picks up the wireless Nintendo 64 controller. Technically, in my opinion, Josh would have won the bet. They both have a nice chocolate milk fight about who actually won, but Megan is quick to explain who lost the bet.
It doesn't matter who caved first.
What?
The contract says whoever caves must dye his hair pink. You both caved, so you both have to do it.
Which, by default, means that both parents lost their bets as well. In the end, everyone except Megan ends up with pink hair.
I'm gonna grab some breakfast. I'll just meet you at school. Okay, see ya. Idiots.
And like that, the episode ends with Drake having cheated his way out of this bet too. As I said earlier, this episode really just embodies everything that I love about this show. It's a classic episode that is one of the first to come to mind when I think about Drake and Josh. In my opinion, it really checks all of the boxes of what I would expect when I want to sit down and watch an episode of this show. This episode truly was the good old days in my opinion, and they just don't make live action Nick shows like they used to. But what do you think? When you think of Drake and Josh, which is the first episode that comes to your mind? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.